Whisker's dream. Whiskers sat perched on the windowsill, her amber eyes fixed on the swirling snow beyond the glass. The woods, usually a tapestry of greens and browns, were now a monochrome wonderland, beckoning with an irresistible allure. A shiver ran down her spine, not from cold, but from a primal yearning she couldn't quite name. She imagined herself stalking through the drifts, her pores sinking softly into the pristine powder, the crisp air filling her lungs. A thrill, a hunter's instinct, pulsed through her. "Whiskers, darling, what are you looking at?" Lily's voice chirped from behind, pulling her from her reverie. Lily scooped her up, burying her face in Whisker's soft fur. "Are you cold? Come on, let's play." Lily dangled a feathered toy, and Whiskers, momentarily distracted, batted at it playfully. Lily laughed, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "That's my girl. You're getting so big, aren't you? Soon we'll have little kittens running around." Whiskers purred, a rumble that vibrated through her whole body. She loved Lily, loved the warmth and safety of their home. But the image of the snowy woods lingered in her mind, a siren's call she couldn't ignore. Later, nestled in her favorite plush bed, Whiskers drifted to sleep. Her dream was a flurry of white. She was no longer the pampered house cat, but a sleek, wild creature, her movements fluid and silent. The air was sharp with the scent of pine and the faintest hint of prey. A rabbit, plump and unsuspecting, hopped into view. Whiskers crouched low, her muscles coiled, ready to spring. The thrill was intoxicating, the hunted dance of instinct and skill. She could almost taste the victory, the satisfaction of providing for her unborn kittens. Suddenly, a piercing wind howled through the dreamscape, scattering the snow in blinding gusts. The rabbit vanished, and a shadow loomed in the distance, its eyes glowing with an unnerving intensity. Fear, raw and primal, gripped Whiskers. She tried to run, but her pores were heavy, sinking deeper into the snow with each step. The shadow grew closer, its form resolving into something large and menacing. Whiskers awoke with a start, her heart pounding, the warmth of her bed a stark contrast to the icy fear that still clung to her. The woods, once a dream of adventure, now held a darker, more ominous promise. The blizzard's call. The first flakes arrived tentative, shy against the windowpane, but soon blossomed into a furious white curtain. Lily hummed a cheerful tune, pulling the curtains tighter, a shield against the escalating storm. "Bera, sounds like a proper blizzard out there, Whiskers. Good thing we're all cozy inside." She ruffled the cat's fur, a gesture Whiskers usually adored, but tonight she only offered a distracted purr. Her emerald eyes were fixed on the swirling chaos beyond the glass, a primal yearning flickering within them. The wind howled, rattling the windows in their frames, and the old house groaned in protest. Lily busied herself, lighting candles and starting a fire, the scent of pine and beeswax filling the air. "No going out tonight, kitty cat," as she said, her voice firm but laced with affection. "It's far too dangerous." Whiskers didn't respond, her tail twitching restlessly. The snow, illuminated by the porch light, looked like a field of glittering diamonds, beckoning her. Lily, oblivious to the inner turmoil raging within her feline companion, went to fetch a blanket. It was in that brief moment, the hallway door left ajar, that Whiskers saw her chance. The wind, a mischievous accomplice, pushed the door wider. One tentative pour, then another, crossed the threshold. The cold hit her like a slap, a brutal awakening, but the glistening snow held her captive. She slipped out into the storm, a shadow swallowed by the white fury. The powdery snow stung her nose and settled in her fur, but the fresh, wild scent of it intoxicated her. The house, with its warmth and safety, receded behind her, becoming a distant memory. The blizzard's call was too strong to resist. Lost in the white. The scratching escalated, a frantic plea against the barrier. Whiskers paced, her soft pores a metronome of longing on the rug's frayed edges. Outside, the wind keened, a siren song of freedom laced with danger. She craved the frigid air, the icy kiss of winter on her coat. Though heavy with unborn kittens, a primal urge tugged at her, demanding release. Finally, yielding to the irresistible pull, she shoved the door ajar, slipping through the narrow opening before it slammed shut. The gale pounced, a biting assault. The world dissolved into a dizzying swirl of white, the wind snatching at her breath and stinging her eyes. Guided by instinct, she forged ahead, her nose skimming the ground. The accumulating snow made each step a laborious effort for her burdened frame. She believed she was oriented towards the wood's familiar musk, but the wind was a mischievous deceiver. Once welcoming trees morphed into spectral figures, their branches cloaked in icy armor, each mirroring the other in a chilling uniformity. A prickle of unease turned into full-blown panic. The wind now seemed to taunt her with its ceaseless howl. She desperately tried to retrace her path, but the swirling snow had already buried her tracks, leaving no trace of her passage. All was sameness, an obliterating white expanse stretching endlessly. Her pores grew numb, her fur a leaden weight of frozen moisture. Each inhale rasped in her chest, a painful reminder of her vulnerability. The kittens stirred within, a silent plea for safety and warmth. She had to return. Shelter was paramount. But which way led home? The frozen wilderness offered no solace, only the relentless fury of the storm. Cold, a penetrating dagger, pierced to her very core, threatening to extinguish the last flicker of hope. Near collapse. The snow stung Whisker's face, each flake a tiny, icy needle. Her legs wobbled, threatening to buckle beneath her. She pushed on, driven by a primal urge to find shelter, to protect the lives growing inside her. But the world was a swirling white chaos, and her strength was failing. With a groan, she stumbled, her pores losing purchase on the slick, frozen ground. This time, there was no recovery. She collapsed in a heap near the base of a snow-covered log, the wind instantly whipping around her exposed body. Shivering racked her frame, violent tremors that seemed to shake her very bones. Her fur, usually a warm shield, was now saturated and heavy, offering little protection against the biting cold. Each breath was a ragged gasp, the frigid air burning her lungs. Panic clawed at her throat. She was lost, alone, and weakening fast. The image of her warm nest, the comforting scent of her human, flickered in her mind, taunting her with what she was losing. No, she rasped, the sound swallowed by the wind. I can't. I won't. But her body betrayed her. The shivering intensified, her muscles cramping. Her vision blurred, the white world fading at the edges. She felt a terrifying numbness creeping in, a prelude to the long, silent sleep of the frozen. This couldn't be it. Not now. Not when she was so close. Or, at least, she hoped she was close. She had lost all sense of direction. Was she even moving towards home? Or was she simply wandering deeper into the heart of the storm, towards certain death? A whimper escaped her lips, a sound of utter despair. The cold was winning. She closed her eyes, surrendering to the inevitable. The last thought that flickered through her mind was of the kittens she would never see, the life that was being stolen before it even began. And then, darkness threatened to consume her entirely. The bobcat's shadow. The log was immense, a forlorn giant cloaked in snow. Whiskers huddled against its base, the rough bark a meagre shield against the biting wind. Her body trembled uncontrollably. Each breath was a shallow, painful rasp. She closed her eyes, willing herself to disappear into the snow, to become one with the cold, silent world. A rustle. Not the whisper of wind through skeletal branches, but something heavier, deliberate. Her eyes flickered open. From behind the log, a shadow detached itself from the deepening gloom. It solidified into a shape, a low-slung, powerful form. Two luminous yellow eyes pierced the fading light, fixing on her with unnerving intensity. A bobcat. Panic clawed at Whisker's throat, choking off any sound. Bob, she registered distantly, the creature that lived near the old woodshed. Larger than she remembered, his thick winter coat puffed out, making him appear enormous. Each muscle beneath his spotted fur seemed coiled, ready to spring. Her instinct screamed, predator. He remained motionless, a statue carved from the twilight, the only movement the slow blink of his heavy-lidded eyes. Then, cautiously, he took a step. The snow crunched softly under his padded paws. Whiskers flattened herself against the log, a pathetic ball of fur, her heart hammering against her ribs. She could smell him now, a musky, wild scent that sent shivers down her spine. He took another step, and another, closing the distance between them. She braced for the inevitable, the sharp teeth, the crushing weight. But instead of attacking, he stopped a few feet away. He lowered his head, his gaze intense, and let out a soft, questioning yowl, the sound surprisingly gentle. He shifted his weight from one paw to the other, his tail twitching slightly. The bobcat was looking at her with something akin to concern. An unexpected kindness. The bobcat stopped a few feet away, its amber eyes fixed on Whiskers. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to run, to disappear. But the cold had seeped into her bones, making movement a painful, sluggish process. She could only huddle tighter against the fallen log, a pathetic, snow-dusted lump of fur. Instead of the expected snarl, a low, inquisitive sniff reached her ears. The bobcat, larger than she'd imagined, took a tentative step closer. Whiskers flinched, bracing for the inevitable. But the attack never came. Instead, a warm, surprisingly gentle nose nudged her side, right where the throbbing pain radiated from her injured leg. It wasn't aggressive, not predatory. It felt concerned. Whiskers trembled, confusion warring with fear. The bobcat pulled back, its gaze intense. Then, it turned its head slightly, as if indicating something behind it. Another sniff, a soft rumble in its chest, and it took a few steps away, stopping to look back at her. Hesitantly, Whiskers lifted her head. Following the bobcat's gaze, she saw a dark opening in the rocky hillside, partially obscured by snow-laden branches. A cave. The bobcat took another step towards the cave, then paused, its eyes pleading. Was it Ear offering her shelter? The thought was absurd, yet the bobcat's actions spoke louder than any imagined growl. Her leg throbbed, the wind howled, and the snow showed no signs of stopping. She had no other options. With a painful wince, Whiskers pushed herself to her paws. Each step sent jolts of agony through her leg, but she forced herself forward, driven by a desperate hope and an inexplicable trust in the creature that should have been her enemy. The bobcat waited patiently, its gaze fixed on her. As she limped closer, it turned and disappeared into the darkness of the cave. Whiskers hesitated at the entrance. Then, with a deep breath, she followed. Shelter and new life. The wind howled, a banshee clawing at the cave mouth. Whiskers shivered, each gust driving the cold deeper into her bones. Despair, a heavy weight, threatened to crush her. Then, a presence. Amber eyes glinted in the dimness. Bob. He hadn't left. He padded closer, a low rumble vibrating in his chest. Not a growl, not exactly. More like concern. He nudged her flank with his head, a surprisingly gentle gesture from such a powerful creature. She leaned into him, a fragile trust blossoming in the frozen air. He settled beside her, his thick fur a meager shield against the biting cold, but a shield nonetheless. Hours blurred into a symphony of shivering and wind. Then, a new sound. A soft, strained mewl. Whiskers tensed, a pang of sharp pain slicing through her. Bob shifted, his gaze fixed on her. He seemed to understand. One by one, they came. Tiny, blind, mewling creatures, each a fragile spark of life in the desolate cave. Whiskers licked them clean, her body exhausted but her heart overflowing with a fierce, primal love. Bob remained, a silent sentinel. He watched, fascinated, as the kittens suckled, their tiny paws kneading against their mother's fur. He stretched out a cautious paw, stopping just short of touching one. Whiskers purred, a rumbling invitation. He lowered his head, sniffing gently at the nearest kitten. It wriggled, a minuscule protest. Bob recoiled slightly, then settled back, his amber eyes never leaving the tiny family. The wind still howled, but inside the cave, a small haven had been forged. A haven of warmth, of life, and of an unlikely kinship. The snow continued to fall, blanketing the world outside, but here, in the heart of the storm, a new beginning had taken root. Lily's search. The storm had finally passed, leaving behind a world transformed into a sparkling wonderland. Sunlight glinted off the snow-laden branches, creating a dazzling display. Lily, bundled in her warmest coat, ventured outside, calling, Whiskers. Whiskers, where are you? Her voice was swallowed by the stillness of the morning. A pang of guilt twisted in her stomach. She should have kept a closer eye on her. She trudged through the deep snow, her boots sinking with each step. The air was crisp and bit at her cheeks. As she neared the edge of the woods, a flash of movement caught her eye. Bob, the bobcat, was sitting motionless, his gaze fixed on something within the trees. He was usually skittish, disappearing at the slightest sound, but today he stood his ground. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. What was he guarding? She took a tentative step forward, then another. Bob, she called softly, her voice trembling. The bobcat didn't flinch, but his amber eyes flickered in her direction, a silent warning. Cautiously, she approached, her eyes scanning the undergrowth. And then she saw her. Whiskers. She was nestled in a makeshift den of leaves and snow, looking exhausted but content. And beside her, tiny, mewling bundles of fur. Kittens. Lily's breath hitched. Whiskers had had her kittens, and Bob had been protecting them. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. Whiskers, as she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. The cat lifted her head, her green eyes meeting Lily's. A soft purr rumbled in her chest, and she nudged one of her kittens closer. Lily knew, in that moment, that everything had changed. This wasn't just her cat anymore. This was a mother, a survivor, a testament to the enduring power of love and the unexpected alliances forged in the face of adversity. She took another step, and Bob, satisfied she meant no harm, finally relaxed his posture, allowing Lily to approach her furry family. A silent understanding. The cardboard box felt impossibly light in Lily's arms, considering the precious cargo nestled within. Whiskers purred weakly, a low rumble of contentment vibrating against Lily's chest. The kittens, a wriggling mass of fur, mewed in unison, their tiny cries echoing the relief blooming in Lily's heart. She glanced back at the edge of the woods. Bob stood there, a silent sentinel, his amber eyes gleaming in the fading light. He hadn't moved since she'd carefully lifted the box, hadn't made a sound. It was an unspoken agreement, a trust formed in the face of shared concern. "Thank you," Lily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for looking after them." She knew he wouldn't understand the words, but she hoped he could feel the sincerity. She offered a small wave before turning towards the house, the crunch of snow underfoot a comforting rhythm. Inside, she settled Whiskers and her kittens in a warm, quiet corner of the living room, far from the draft. A soft blanket lined the box, and a shallow dish of water sat nearby. Whiskers immediately began to groom her kittens, her tongue rough but gentle on their delicate fur. Lily watched, mesmerized, as life unfolded before her. Later, as darkness deepened, Lily prepared a plate of leftover chicken. She wrapped it carefully and walked back towards the woods. The air was crisp and cold, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. She placed the plate at the base of a large oak tree, a respectable distance from the clearing where she had found Whiskers. "This is for you," as she murmured, knowing he was watching. "A thank you, and maybe, or a peace offering." She retreated back to the house, glancing over her shoulder once more. Bob remained a shadow at the edge of the trees, his form blending seamlessly with the darkness. He didn't approach the food, didn't acknowledge her presence in any way, but Lily knew he was there. A silent understanding had passed between them, a bond forged in the wilderness, a promise of respect and gratitude that transcended words. She knew, somehow, that he would come when she was gone. He had protected Whiskers, and she would protect him, in her own way, now.